Okay. Good afternoon, and welcome to the Let's Talk Destiny talk show. Today, I am absolutely honored, and I say this a lot, but this young man has a special place in my heart. We've been family, not just friends, but we've been family for a long, long time. And so I welcome to my platform Mr. Andre Henry, who we all know as Gator. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sis. And I'm gonna greet the people in the old ancient Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. And if those who don't understand what that means, I'm greeting you and I'm saying peace and blessings be upon you. So I'm putting that out in the world. What that does is that decreases me and increases God. And
All right now.
as Jesus said to the prophet, to his disciples, he told all of them, when you see each other, you greet each other in peace and you leave each other in peace. So peace is the word today. Hey, sister, what's up?
I love it. I love it. I will. Thank you so much again for joining us today. And, as I had said before, that this platform, I wanted to always be purpose driven. And I want people to leave here with a greater sense of their purpose, and those who are watching to develop a sense of purpose if they have not done that. And so, as you know, this month we are honoring and saluting fatherhood, which I personally think does not get enough attention in our society. We hear a lot about the fathers that are absent and the fathers that are not doing, but there are so many of you who I admire from a distance, just the way you father. And so I was determined that this month that we were going to set aside some time to honor you guys. So let me ask you the first question. Uh, how do you feel? What do you feel about the importance of a father being in a child's life?
Mm.
What is that
How,
value to you?
how deep do you want me to unpack this thing,
I
sister?
want you to go as deep as you want. We already told you to bring the fire.
Okay. Um, First and foremost, it's probably number one top priority on the list in any community. And I mean any community on this planet Earth, in this universe. There's an old movie that's like it ain't real old, but it's one of my favorite movies, and it's called Apocalyptic. And a lot of people, the movie didn't have a lot of speaking parts in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm typing something as we speak too. I'm sorry. It didn't have a lot of speaking parts in it, but what it did have was there was a gentleman who was taken away from his family and he was captured, right? But he spent that whole movie fighting. He knew a new generation was being ushered in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that, what he did, his whole mission was he was trying to get back to the mother of his child, who was actually pregnant at the time. But his whole mission, he refused to die because he wanted to get back to his unborn child and usher him into a new world that was coming. And it's actually about a old a Mayan. You know, like the Mayans have pyramids like the ancient Africans and Egyptians did. But asking me about, the importance of that, let me talk to you about that about from an African American. No, I'm gonna just say it's a Black perspective.
Okay.
Um, I do a lot of reading,
Yes.
and I think that's because I'm always in search and quest of trying to find out a little bit more of who I am, what makes me tick, and us as a people, as Black people, what make us do the things we do. And one of the main questions was, why is there so much absent fatherhood in our community? So,
Talk about it.
yep. So one of the books I've been reading for, actually, I've had it for a long time. It's called Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch, right?
Wow.
And I think not only Black America, but white America needs to hear this, especially white America of today's time, because a lot of people tend to, we get characterized and put in, even in the court system of, all these fatherless homes. There's no father. The black man ain't present. The father ain't present. You know, and if you hear, you know, just like talking about, you know, like a son, you know, like my good brother Byron Green. You know, when you hear so many countless stories, when a lot of us who have been incarcerated behind that wall, when we actually get time to sit and think, how did we get here? We start looking at, you know, if I only had a father, you know, if I had a father there to guide me, if I had a man there to guide me, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
in this book, Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch, one of the main things that slave masters did to the Africans who they kidnapped and brought to the shores, to the western shores of America, was they broke up the family.
Talk about it.
And number one, it started with the male. So let's ask this question. Why was it so important to take the male out of the equation? Can you feel where I'm going from? Now, if
Yes,
nobody
sir.
don't know who Willie Lynch was, Willie Lynch was actually a real human being who was named, they dubbed him the slave maker. And he didn't use just physical brutality, he used psychological brutality, but he also used psychology on the African slave, because he knew if he left them in the state that they came, see, we was too strong in our natural state. There was
Sir.
always a male present in the community. There was always a male present in the home. You can call it a hut, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, sir.
But one thing in our civilization that we had was the male had to be present. He secured and maintained his wife, his children, and even if he had more than one wife, he secured his women and his children.
Yes,
And
sir.
he reared them, and he taught the young male how to hunt and how to protect and how to maintain his family. So in this book, in Breaking the Curse of Willie Lynch, they said one of the main things that the slave masters was taught by Willie Lynch of how to maintain their slave was you had to break the male. You had to break the head male of the family to put fear in the woman's, listen to this part, put fear into the woman's breast to make her subdue and wrap her child, almost like take her child and wrap him around her leg and put him behind it, so that he wouldn't have the same, not only consciousness, but the same strength and the same courage as that first male had. And from that point, they no longer allowed us to marry and have families. If you were allowed to marry, you was only allowed to marry for breeding purposes.
Right.
And I don't know if people know this, but in Virginia, which is close, North Carolina and South Carolina, and especially down in New Orleans and Louisiana, well, I ain't gonna say New Orleans, I'm gonna say Louisiana, they took certain males and only put them on plantations. The whole purpose was just to breed.
Absolutely.
So we had children probably on 6 or 7 different plantations. You see what I'm saying? So the importance of us getting back to our natural state is very important. And I feel in today's time, there's a lot more of us African Americans starting to wake up to the realization of a lot of things that have been psychologically done to us. And a lot of men are starting to step back up and take their place, whether they are the biological father or they are quote unquote a stepfather. But there are starting to be males starting to be more present. And even those fathers struggling that don't actually know how to be a father, at least they trying to be present.
You know, it's funny. The reason I'm smiling so much is because the information you're giving, number one, is phenomenal. But I don't know if you had an opportunity this morning to read the post from your friend's new page today, because the very first part of that post talks about Willie Lynch.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's
Yeah,
why I started smiling,
yeah.
because I said I need to get that book, because I've read it a long time ago, but I need to read it again. And then when you held up the book, that's why I started smiling, because we just had this conversation.
Wow.
Isn't that
I
powerful?
I didn't know, but
I
once
know you
again,
didn't. That's why I'm like, this is like, wow. And the spirit moves like that. Like,
yeah,
he talks to us. Sometimes we don't listen because we don't recognize it as spirit until somebody confirms it. And
yeah,
then you like, wow, that's powerful. Mm.
very, yeah.
All right,
I,
that gave me
I
the chills. Yeah,
I
that
think
gave
we
me,
waking up from our 400-year slumber. We're
yes,
no longer asleep anymore.
absolutely. Now, how many children do you have, boys and girls?
I have one son who is my namesake. He's named after me. And I have one biological daughter and one stepdaughter. And I don't even like using the word step. We are all one family,
I
man.
understand. I understand. Now, let me ask you this question. As a daddy's girl, everybody know, I'm like definition of daddy's girl still. Um,
Mhm.
do you think that you father your sons and daughters differently?
Ah, y- yes, we do. You know, let me first start off by saying that for one, I've been a dad. I didn't start off, quote unquote, as you would say, a good dad. Um, but I was never absent. I had some breaks in between, I went a few places and, you know,
Yeah.
sat a few places and had to find myself.
Yes.
So in those times I was absent. Then I was there but wasn't there.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of other young men struggle with that. And I'm gonna get to the part about the difference between male and
No
female
problem. Take your
child.
time.
Um, a lot of young men struggle with still maturing and still wanting to hang out and quote unquote do what we think society says we should do as men, or what we should do to take care of ours and this, that, and the third. So I was there, but at times I wasn't there.
Yes.
I was physically there, but I wasn't always there as I wasn't father. I was dad at that time. I think I can honestly say I have grown into myself and become a great dad. I would prefer my children to answer that, but but I can see my growth.
Yes.
But yes, we do, and I think that may be one of them. I don't know if I want to say a mistake, but maybe a stumble
Yeah.
that I have made, as in raising your two children different.
Yeah.
Most men, especially when you have a boy and you have him as your first child, you see them as your second self.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
when we're in our, you think, I want to make them tough. I want to make them be like me. I want to make them be better than me. And what we don't realize is that most boys, most male children, they might not admit it, but they want to be like their fathers. You know what I'm saying? And it takes me to that movie, American Gangster, uh, when Denzel was playing that character.
Yes.
He was mad at his brothers, right?
Yes.
Because they was messing up the drug business.
Right.
And he went home and told his mom he was gonna kill one of his brothers, and she slapped him.
Right.
And she pointed at him and she said, "Don't you dare do that." She said, "Had you been a lawyer, all your brothers would have wanted to
Been a
be.
Lord. Yes. Yes.
Had you been a baseball player, all your brothers would have been a baseball player. You was the only man they had to look at."
That's
So
powerful.
yeah, so during my journey, I was, I'm gonna be honest, I was still young and I was still thugging and drugging and beating the streets as a father,
Yeah.
as a husband at that time. Probably should have never been nobody's husband at that time. I wasn't ready. Um, and so you don't realize that your sons are watching,
Yes.
and they might not emulate it from the beginning, but as they get older, they emulate it because they're trying to find themselves too as a man. They're
Absolutely.
trying to find themselves as a Black man in this society that tells them that you ain't this, you ain't that, or you'll only amount to this, or you'll only go that far. So, you see yourself in some of the things that you've done that they emulate. And you also see some of the things that you allow them to do that you wouldn't allow your daughter to do. So yes,
Righty then.
there is a glaring contrast in how probably I raised my son and my daughter. You know, it's things, even with me cleaned and polished up today, I still ask God to forgive me for.
Yes, sir.
Because I rode that boy in the back seat, in the car seat, while I was still doing a whole lot of dirt.
Yes,
You
sir.
see what I'm saying? He might have been a baby. But there was probably things that, images that may have been, you know, left in his mind.
That's right.
Yeah, oh, this is what men's supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we're supposed to do as a man. So, you know, yes, I have definitely raised him different. I think I raised my daughter with me being more protective.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I also raised her showing her dad has strength.
Yes.
For her to never be in fear, because if anything happened, I'm her Superman.
That's right. That's right.
I'm her
That's
first
right.
Superman. You know, and then, you know, with raising a son, you know, sometimes we clash, probably just like mothers and daughters clash. You
Right.
know, we clash because we so much alike.
That's right.
Much alike. And it's like, even in today's time, I look at him now and I see me 20 years ago. And then it's times I want to tell him how to do it.
Yeah.
Like, yo, man, if you're gonna play this type of life, let me tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
Let me show you how to, you know what I mean? And I can't do that. So my role has changed now in my older life, because I live completely opposite of young me. So he may not know it, but that's me showing him where the transition and the change comes in, and I'm doing it for them, even when they don't know I'm doing it for them. So yeah, I definitely there's a big difference in raising sons and daughters. Yes, ma'am.
You know, Gator, I want to go back to what we were talking about, or what you addressed earlier, about how systemically our fathers were snatched away from us by no choice of their own. And their sole purpose, as you said, was to breed and make more babies, which were considered more products and property.
Yes,
and to imagine the psychological impact on a mother who watched her man being snatched away like that, stripped naked in public, and, you know, inspected like he was a cow or a horse or some animal, and then sold away. And then the same thing happened when your sons grow up. And then we, you know, come down a couple hundred years, and even with our supposedly social programs that help us, they help you more when you don't have a father around.
Stop right there. I want to interject. I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry.
Because we can take that on up to 1940, 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990, and even here in the year 2000s, right?
Yeah.
This is what happens in our Black community, right? You can have a couple that's together, and you can have a man that's trying, right? But if they can't afford childcare, and they can't afford, you know, medical care and all of those things, even a lot of times when that baby is born, that father might have been right there in the hospital.
Say that.
Watching the baby being born and cutting the umbilical cord, wanting to do the right thing. But then society says, when the mother needs help, we will help you. But she has to sign on a piece of paper. She don't know who or where the father is. Or she may put on the birth certificate, father unknown. Father unknown, just so she can get some help with housing, so she can get some WIC, so she can get, you know, and we don't want to stay on food stamps and WIC and everything else, but this is what we have to do. So she immediately gets childcare. She immediately gets housing.
That's right.
Which immediately takes the man out of the equation. So let's speed that up. Baby 2 or 3, dad's still kind of running the street, but he's still trying to be dad, right? She wake up one day, excuse my language, I don't need this nigga. I don't need this Negro.
That's right.
And before you know it, he's pushed to the side, him and her beefing. She got everything she needs. She got purchase of care. She got home care.
Talk about it.
She's getting help with daycare. And now the father goes off once again with being the guy like feeling already ostracized by society. Now he got a woman that don't need him, except when she need him. And I'm not saying that's all women. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
But once again, we're talking about psychology.
Right.
So we kind of pushed out of our natural place, and all of that's systemic.
Absolutely. I remember one time I had had a surgery. This was many years ago. I think Trey might have been like 4. It might even been Byron, one of those boys. It was like 3 or 4, and I'd had surgery and I needed to get some assistance. And I remember going to the Department of Social Services to get temporary help while I was out of work. And the lady told me that when I did work, that I was $24 over what they could allow me to receive assistance. $24. So I said to her, I was really angry. And I said to her, but if I came in here and said, I have 7 children, they all have different fathers, I don't know where the fathers are, I could get all the help I wanted. And she said, unfortunately, you're absolutely correct. She said, if there is no proof that the father is in the home, you can get pretty much anything you want. And that stuck with me because I understand all about that. There are some fathers who are not going to do right regardless. But the majority of the young men that I know want to be fathers. Then we have not only the system go against them, but some of these females play the role of if you want to see your child, if you want to be a father to your child, then you have to stay with me. And that's a whole nother program. But my question is with regard to the father being pushed out of the way systemically, when you are not in the home, if you are not allowed to be in the home, what ways do you recommend that a father still maintains relationship with his children?
Well, I've played both parts. Thank God, I had my children with one woman. But there came a time after many years, because we spent many years together, that we end up separating, and then separation turned into divorce. And I don't mind being candid on here.
That's right.
Me and my children's mother, we have a beautiful parental relationship, with our kids. One thing she did not do, but it was a small period, and she had her reasons. I openly, admittedly say that. I wasn't living right. Hey man, until you get yourself together, I'm gonna hold on to them because I don't, I don't want certain influences to be influenced, and that maybe might have lasted a year, but she never withheld my children from me. But that also was motivation for me to be more of a better father. And sometimes women have to hold the fire to the men to be in position to be the kind of father that you need to be. So with that being said, after our separation and after our divorce, one thing that we realized when the smoke cleared and we sat down and we talked, we said, look, we getting divorced, not the children. So
well said.
You can't divorce or separate from children just because the two parents ain't get along. I mean, some people it happens faster than others, but one thing about starting to have a mature mind and not a selfish mind, you can be mad as hell at the father, or you can be mad as hell at the mother. And I'm using that language so maybe it catch people's attention. I'm not using that in a bad, facetious way.
I understand, believe me, trust me.
But a person that has a real natural yearning as a parent, you're gonna want to be a parent regardless. And you gotta put your differences to the side. Y'all ain't got to look at each other and lay in bed together no more. If you're a father, be a father to your children. Sometimes us men gotta learn to bite our tongue, even if we don't like the way that the mother is coming at us. Just long as you there to show up. If y'all got a certain date and time, you show up and you get your kids and you spend time with them. Like, you still be like, for me, the one thing that I focused on was still being there emotionally for my kids, because I knew it was going to be troublesome because they had been with their mother and father for so long.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So it was important for me, not the monetary things, not the sneakers. And I wasn't, I ain't gonna lie, I paid ransom for about a year or two. And if parents don't know what that means, is you try to get the gifts to, make your kids love you and, and take away and erase their little pain.
Yeah.
I paid ransom for about a year or two. Then I realized that, like, you can't buy their love. They need time.
Yes, sir.
So you spend time with them and you start to make it about things they got going on. If they got practice, just be there. They need to look over on the sideline and see that you're there.
Daddy, that's right.
When it's school time, get involved. When they got school meetings, especially the men, especially the black men.
Yeah.
Go to your children's school, man. Like I've been doing this for years, and to this day, if you want me to give you a percentile of the black males that show up at school events, it's probably about 5%.
Wow.
I look at all the families and I hardly see any black fathers. I see all these black mothers, and then I see in other races, whether it's Asian, African, Haitian, Caucasian, I see the total family. So, be involved.
Gotta do better. We gotta do
better. We gotta do better. But once again, we talk about psychology. There's a breakdown,
yes, sir.
For a reason. So yeah, that even in the separation, we still have to be fathers.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Now, I want to also ask you, what lessons are you absolutely making sure that you teach your children?
What lessons?
Yeah.
Family values. We may even conflict at times. We may even be mad at each other or upset that one ain't doing this or the other ain't doing that, but that we family.
I love that. I love that.
I don't care where we go on the face of this earth, we there for each other. When it's good, when it's bad,
yes.
When you're struggling, when you're doing great, when you're in need, and when you're not in need. We family.
We family.
That's it.
Wow, I love that. I love that. Now, when you hear someone say, and this is one of my pet peeves, and I work with mothers. I have an organization that works with mothers, and I love that whole concept of motherhood. But one of the things that really disturbs me is when I hear a mother say, "I'm your mother and your father." That just like sends something all through me. Because you can't be both. I don't care how great a mother I am, I cannot be a father. What is your response when you hear that? Emotionally, physically, verbally? How do you feel when you hear someone says that?
Sad truth, not all, but a lot of us have neglected our position, and I'm talking about men, black men, because we don't know ourselves. And we surviving off of the misinformed miseducation that we have been given as young boys. And let me break that down. And I hope the women don't get upset with me, but like, you're a female mother. So you had these cute little boys when they're little. The first things all your friends say and do, and probably even your mother and aunts, they pinch him on the cheek and they kiss him and they say, oh, he's so handsome. Oh, look at him. He's going to be a lady killer. He's going to be a lady killer. Look, how many girlfriends you got in school?
That is so cute. That is true. Oh my God.
Do we know what psychology we doing to a young man at that age? He 5. And he got the little chubby cheeks and a cute smile and maybe his hair is cute and curls. And it could even be in the church set. The women pinch him on his cheek, they kiss him, and all your girlfriends tell him, like I just said, he's so cute. He gonna be a lady killer. How many girlfriends you got? And he put his little fingers up and go, 4.
That's the truth.
So we're already programming them to have more than one woman.
Teach that, Gator.
Okay.
Teach.
Yeah, we teaching that in kindergarten because he's cute, right? And then when he gets around his uncles or older men, I'm gonna call it at the fire pit or at the barbecue, they, and he hears the male conversation, nobody is talking or preaching one woman. You're hearing the old terminology, boy, while you're young, you better go out here and sow your royal oats, which means to conquer and have a bunch of concubines, right?
That's right. That's right.
So we're taught to leave our posts at an early age and not protect and be with, that one woman. And even back in the day, the older people got to take some guilt and blame for this too, because there's a lot of us that got ancestors and grandparents that we know they might have stayed married. Yeah. They said we're gonna stay together come hell or high waters.
Yes.
But mama always also knew that daddy had maybe another child down the street, round the block, or on the other side of town.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Bring that fire, boy. Bring the fire.
She stayed with him.
Yeah.
She might knew that daddy was a good man Monday through Thursday, but Friday, Saturday until Sunday morning, he wasn't no good. As old people say, he was in the juke joint. So also what happened is later on down the line is, once again, you start having fathers not playing their position and mother had to do it all.
Yeah.
She had to dress them, bathe them, send them to school, and still try to take them to church or somewhere to get some word of God so they have faith. And that's where the terminology starts saying, I'm mother and father.
Yeah.
And in all hindsight, she has been. She has been. It might hurt and it might make you cringe, but in a lot of situations, but a woman can raise a man, can raise a boy, but she can't teach him to be a man.
That's right. Absolutely.
He's gonna need a man to show him how to be a man. That woman could give him all kinds of strength. Because I ain't gonna sit here and lie. I get a lot of my strength from the women that raised me.
That's right.
And most of them.
Yeah.
Because some of us men, we too macho.
Yeah.
Men have taught me a lot, but my strength comes from the women that raised me.
Yes,
I'm gonna be honest with that. And even today, when I need some real gut level honesty, somebody that's gonna give me some emotions and not just some tough stuff, I go to my women.
Yeah.
I go to the women in my life.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna give it to me. They ain't gonna be afraid to actually show their emotions.
Exactly.
A man might want to tell me sometime, man, just tough it up. Toughen up and tough it out. Or, or we all been there. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Nah.
Get over it. Suck it up. Yeah. That burns me up. That's a whole nother thing. Like, I was listening as you were talking about the little boys, 3, 4, 5 years old, and they're so cute and they're so whatever. And they, whenever they cry, they get hurt. They cry, they come to mom. She loves on them, kisses on them, tell them, don't worry about it. Mom will fix it. You'll be all right. Kiss their little boo-boo, whatever. And then somewhere around 5 or 6 years old, daddy or society starts saying, stop that crying when they fall. And they just fell last year and you loved on them and kissed on them and told them it's going to be all right. Now this year you're saying, stop that crying, boys don't cry. You know, you ain't no little girl, suck it up. So somewhere between 5 and 6, they start feeling like, well, when I have these negative emotions or something bad happens to me, I'm not supposed to express it.
Not to
Because
talk about it.
yeah, you know, because they'll say I'm acting like a little girl, and then they get into teenage years, and it becomes even worse. And then we wonder why, when we get to dating age, we can't find a man that's willing to share his emotions. You know, we're
Exactly.
all whining and crying. He won't talk to me. He won't. Well, he's been told for the last 10 years not to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Here we are. We done rode a bike on a on a black top gravel road. I done fell off the bike, skipped my forehead, skipped my elbow, skipped my knee, got stones and dirt and
That's right.
everything all up in my skin, still stuck in me, and I'm crying. And the first thing you're gonna tell me to do is wipe me down and say, "Boy, stop crying.
And
Be
going
tough."
back outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
boys don't cry, right? That emotionally stagnates us, to be honest with
I believe
you.
it.
It
I
hurt.
believe it.
Them stones hurt. But, but we told, pick the stones out,
And keep
and
it
I'm not
moving.
saying we not supposed to have no mental fortitude, no mental toughness, but you are exactly right. We tell them stop crying, and then we wonder why, a lot of men don't show emotions and don't know how to talk because we ain't never been taught to express ourselves.
And I personally
Anger.
have been one of those mothers or females, period, that I it, I've always been very emotional, and I've taught my sons to be able to talk to me about anything. But then, like I said, when they reach a certain age, that peer pressure and that society impact was greater than what I was telling them, because they can cry when they're at home, but when they step outside that door, mom is not there. So these boys can't see me crying. And then and even today, it bothers me when I see parents like your child fall and bust their lip wide open, like you can see blood just running down. And you steady saying, stop crying, stop crying. Well, dude, like seriously, his lip is busted. What do you expect? And it's just like with life events. Like when I remember when Byron, he was doing his thing, whatever. And even though he was an adult, when he got locked up this last time, I was the first person that he called. Even though he was out there on that street being all hardcore, everybody knew who Trouble was.
Mhm.
And I had talked to him for months. But that day he got locked up, he called me. And he said, the first thing he said to me was, Mom, whatever happens, please don't abandon me. And man, that broke me, like, because number one, I'm not going to abandon you, because that's what, that's who I am. But the fact that he would even feel like he needed to say that says a lot to me about what you men deal with in the street.
Yeah.
Because all of those people that he was running with, that's my boy. Some of them even were at the courthouse. If you need anything, Miss Jamie, let me know. Or if his kids need anything, let me know. I haven't seen him since that day, and that
Yeah.
was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But his father was not in his life because he died when Byron was 10 months old. But he had my father, and he had other men, that would father him. And that's one of the other things I wanted to talk with you about, because not only have you fathered your biological children, but you have been a father to so many other young men in our community. And I want you, in your own words, to tell me, what is it in you that makes you feel the need to father, like without question? When I did our promotion for today's conversation, a young lady commented that you are a really good guy, and she remembered she needed a father. I don't know if they were having a father-son thing or something like that. And her son's father was not available. And she mentioned it to you, and you didn't hesitate to say, I'll go with it. What is it within you? What spirit is within you that makes you feel compelled to father children that you have not biologically fathered?
It's several answers. I lost my father March 6th in 2020, right? And me and my father were close, but we ain't always get along. We ain't always see eye to eye, but we were close. I mean, close. Like we were probably too close. But one thing I could say about my dad, even in his shortcomings, right? And I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, even though I was down here a lot.
Yeah.
Like especially at your parents' church. Because you know, my grandma died. For whatever reason, when I came to Salisbury as a little kid, if I was gonna be with my grandma,
Yeah.
I was going up on the hill. And
Yeah,
I
you
like
were.
going to the hill because it reminded me of the hood back home in Wilmington. And plus, long as the prayer and work, I mean, the singing and praise and worship was going on, I could run outside and play around. And I like being in the hood. And that was up on the hill.
Yes,
But
sir.
once the preaching start, my grandma would send my aunt outside to come get us. Y'all come in now.
Yeah.
But growing up in Wilmington, even in my dad's shortcomings, my house was like the neighborhood house. And not only my dad, but my mom, they never turned no children away. So my dad was like the neighborhood dad. He was like the hood father. And probably because me and maybe two other guys, and I'm talking about, we talking about in the city, in a whole, on the whole west side where I grew up at, it was probably 3 fathers that was present in any of our households, and my dad was one of them.
Wow.
My other best friend, his dad was present, and my other best friend, his stepdad was present. But everybody, my house was like a magnet. Everybody came to my house. And my dad was a father. Sometimes I used to get jealous because my dad sometimes was more of a father to them than, well, I ain't gonna say more of a father to them, but he was so fatherly to them as relationship with them. And I'd be like, man, he don't even do that with me.
Right.
Sometimes I would come home from running the street and I get to my house and it'd be one of my boys. They already be in my bedroom. And I'd be like, yo, man, how you? And my dad, but that's who my dad was. Yeah. So I think I take bits and pieces from him. But the other part was I had a real good coach, probably when I was about 10 years old. I was just starting to get into trouble at 10. I had a little violent streak for a while. I got kicked out. I got expelled, not suspended. I got expelled from the 5th grade for, I got put out for the rest of the year. I hit a teacher with a chair. So once again, when I say you talking to a whole different polished person, but there was a lot of racial tension, and that's part of why that happened. But there was a boxing coach, and he took me and a whole bunch of other boys, and he treated us. He was an ex-Marine.
Okay.
So when I'm talking about a different kind of discipline that my dad was even given at home, he played no games with us in that boxing gym. But he expelled so much because of discipline. He expected so much out of us.
Yeah.
Also hovered over us because he didn't want to lose us to the street. And he planted that seed of trying to save us from the street because my boxing gym, our community center is right in the heart of the hood. You can look out the window and see everything going on out the window: prostitution, drug dealing, fighting, shooting, stabbings, police always there on the scene. Yeah. I grew up in a rough neighborhood in Wilmington, but this one coach, he instilled another sense of fatherhood. So I actually kind of had, a village with the community center I grew up in, with the boxing coach, but we had so many other Black males that worked at that community center. Oh. And then I had my dad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think those things just molded me and shaped me, especially as I got older. I think I want to be, or have been, because I got my own biological children, but I think I've been fatherly to a lot of other people's children. And
Absolutely.
I can't help myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It comes natural because there was men that fathered me when my dad couldn't father me, or they picked up the pieces of where he may have fell short. And I just got a deep need for, I don't want to keep seeing us lose our young Black boys.
I
And it's
love
just
that. I love it.
so deep in my spirit, I can't help myself, Jamie.
I love it. I think about, I'm going to say this, I have one more question, I'm going to let you go. Um, I think about even times I would walk into the barbershop and with Trey, and some young guys would be in there, you know, around his age or whatever, and, you know, they kind of like off at that age. Um, and I would hear you just whispering things to a person one-on-one, like, you know, a good lesson about something maybe they said that they shouldn't say in a room where women are,
Yeah,
or something like that. And I would just smile inwardly because I say that Gator, he is over there fathering these boys. And sometimes it wasn't even a matter of being loud and hard and disrespectful and, you know, making them feel like they got to be defensive, but just you would walk in the room from the other side where the boutique was, and I could feel a shift in the barber side shop where some of the stuff they were saying they would stop saying just
yeah.
out of respect for you.
Yeah,
And that,
even the music,
oh
even the
yeah,
music. Like if it's a woman in there or the children too young, hey, change that for a minute, man. When we hear by ourselves, that's one thing. But when these women and a woman bringing her children in, a son or daughter, let's change it for a minute.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. And you know, I never said anything to you about it. I don't know why, but I'm glad I have the opportunity now to say, because when I tell people I've been watching you and observing you for a long time, I'm not just saying that because it sounds like something cute to say. I really have been watching you, and I've been blessed by you for a long time. And when I was first mentioned to Byron that I wanted to do this honoring fatherhood this month, you're like really the first name he mentioned, because he's like, oh, see if you can get Gator. And I was like,
My brother.
I was like, okay. But yeah, because you know, Byron like is not impressed or overwhelmed with a lot of people at all. And the fact that he keeps asking me about you says a lot to me about the impact you've had on his life. And then when he said that to me this morning about the Willie Lynch thing and, you know, whatever, and then you said the same thing, it was like blew me away, that
Yeah,
connection, that spiritual connection. And sometimes they do have to get taken somewhere where they can just like start listening and reading and learning, and they, you know, had no choice but to listen. And so I thank you so much. Oh my goodness, you really blessed me today. This is definitely one of those interviews that I'm going to keep playing over and over because there's so much I've learned from listening to you. And I really need to get a copy of that book because for it to be mentioned to me twice in one day, it's definitely something I want to read. Now, I have one final question and then I'm going to let you go. In your own words, what legacy are you leaving for your children, physically, emotionally, and spiritually?
Want them to say, my dad tried. When it's all said and done, and that's another thing that made me actually really get myself together. Because like I said, a lot of sacrifices that us as parents, this is men and women. Our children don't even know that we're making sacrifices and changes for them. But when it's all said and done, when somebody is preaching or talking my eulogy, I want them to speak of the work that I done while I was here.
Yes.
I never wanted my eulogy to say, you know, Gator died a drug dealer. Gator died a drug user. He went out in a hail of bullets. I want my children to see that I tried to make a difference in this, on this earth, in my community, and that I kept pushing forward for Black excellency until we reached that, so that we could take our rightful place as we supposed to. Because one thing I strongly believe is and I'm saying this about, and I want all genres and all races, to watch this, hopefully, so maybe they can understand, the black man, the black father a little better. And this, this isn't a racial slur or whatever, but I
Yes,
strongly believe that other races are not gonna respect us until we walk upright and respect ourselves completely.
yes, sir.
And
Yes, sir.
that's what I'm pushing for, because it's two things in this Western hemisphere in America that they respect, and one they respect more. That's your mind and your money. And right
Sir.
now, I ain't got a lot of money, but I doggone sure got me a mind on me, and I'm gonna use it to the best of my
Yes,
ability, because that's what more wealthy than anything. And that's
love
what
it.
I want. I want my children to say that my dad, he strived for excellency, and that I was not selfish, that I always tried to help others. And I try to teach them that, and I got, my children aren't perfect, but they got, all three of them got good hearts. They all got good hearts, and I teach them a lot about themselves. Whether they take hold of it now or later on, I teach them a lot about history. I teach them a lot about the psychology of the mind. Um, and I think one day they will use it.
Yes, sir.
So that means that I'll live on forever through them, if that makes sense. Can I say something and do something real
Of
quick?
course you can.
I wanna shout out I wanna shout out them men and them fathers that's behind that wall. And I want a big, big shout out to your son Byron Green. Um, you may not realize this, right? You do, because you was raised you, and this ain't about church or a certain religious organization, but I believe you know God, Jamie.
Yes, sir.
And we've been taught since we was kids how they say God makes no mistakes. And as painful as this situation may be, I think God is extracting something out of you and out of Byron, because when he opened them gates and opened them doors, he gonna be a force to be reckoned with. He gonna be not only so knowledgeable, but so spirit and fiery filled to help his community and help his children and everything else. See, it's a lot of fire, believe it or not. A lot of young dudes, we might call home from the joint, and we don't really talk tough. When we get on the phone with our mom and our girl, we want to check on our family and let y'all know we steady telling y'all we okay. But truth be told, there's a lot of real ones, a lot of real men behind that wall, a lot of real fathers. And sometimes some of us, we find father-like figures behind that wall
Yeah.
that start to impart knowledge in you, and start to impart and start to tell you, like, yo, listen, you can either be in here and you can thug this time out, or you can use this time to the best of your knowledge. And they start to protect them young boys that don't know how to protect themselves.
That's right.
And me knowing, I ain't even gonna call him trouble. Me knowing Byron Green, I already know he is a strong dude. He got a couple young dudes up underneath his wing right now who couldn't protect themselves, but he's imparting them with knowledge, wisdom, and strength to be a man.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna keep holding on and keep praying, for them brothers, that they don't just as they say in there, don't do the time, you know, you don't let the time do you. You do the time.
Yeah.
Um, Lord Hut behind the wall, man, prayers and praises be to you. Byron Green, prayers and praises be to you. Stand tall. Austin Roberts, prayers and peace be upon you.
Yes.
Stand tall. Y'all make the best of that time, and y'all come home and never let these wicked people ever take your freedom and take you off these streets again.
Yes,
That's
sir.
my piece.
God bless you. So, oh man, that was powerful. I gotta get ready to go because my makeup get ready to start running. Uh, but wow, yeah, you definitely did what Byron told you. You brought that fire. I learned so much today, and my soul was blessed. And I just really, whew, I'm so grateful that you joined us today. And I definitely want everybody that will listen to this I know for a fact that there will be lessons learned, insight given that they never noticed before. And I thank you for just being a willing vehicle, a willing instrument to share what you've learned. And I love you so much.
Love you too, sis.
All right, we'll talk again soon.
And thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye.
Peace and blessings, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.